Hi, it's Ingrid from thinkingthis.com. This is part 2 of how I set up and used my Sterling Ink Common Planner for 2025. This video is a 2-part deep dive into the how and why I set up these pages in my planner this year, how often a spread has been used, and whether I will be including it in my 2026 planner. In this part, I take you through the setup of 8 spreads that I added to the planner to assist me in managing my time, money, and life. Check out part 1 of this series if you want to see the grid spacing guide and index pages. Voiceover Ingrid here. These spreads were created over the course of 3 months. Some of them are recorded on my weekly Plan and Affirm lives. I indicate the date and week that the footage was recorded at the top of the screen. We'll be switching from real-time audio clipped from my lives to voiceover audio for spreads that were recorded separately. Here I'm setting up my planning routine. This spread is intended to remind me of what steps I want to take when I'm planning in my main planner, homeschool planner, business planner, and goals planner on a yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis. I also have listed what tasks I would like to include in my morning and evening reflections. The tasks listed here were purely functional and unrelated to the setting up or decorating of spreads. So here I'm writing the yearly planning tasks. And right there at the top, I'm writing the end of April cartomancy for the next 12 months. So the yearly tasks in the homeschool planner are to refresh goals and add them to the new homeschool register. Choose days off from school. Create checklists for each subject. Create the ideal day/week spread. Add philosophy, the homeschool philosophy, at the front of the planner, and migrate information from the previous homeschool register. Sometimes I call it the homeschool planner, sometimes I call it the homeschool register. They're both the same thing. So for the quarterly planning tasks, we have the HB90 Quarterly Reflection, the HB90 Quarterly Vision, and the Level 10 Compass Assessment. I used this spread every once in a while throughout the year, mostly for the daily reflections. In the mornings, I would see AM reflection on my schedule, and I would flip to this page and follow the lists on the task. It's a great way to provide structure for myself in the morning when I'm more likely to feel like I don't know what I should be doing. So the monthly tasks in the goals planner are record habit statistics and record health statistics and index. The planning tasks for my Thinking This notebook are index and record media stats. My main planner's monthly tasks are HB90 Monthly Reflection, log appointments in the weekly pages, mark the fly zones in the monthlies and weeklies, create monthly trackers, and migrate tasks from the goals planner. My homeschool planner / register only has one monthly planning task, and that is to calculate the school days, how many school days we've done so far that year. So what you see me doing here is adding dots to each of the tasks on the list, and these colors are based on the life category color that I have assigned to all of these tasks. And here I am making the header for the weekly planning tasks. The weekly planning tasks in my main planner are add cleaning tasks, migrate last week's tasks, HB90 weekly reflection, time block weeklies, and plan menu. The weekly tasks in my homeschool planner are to update the weekly pages, post-it plan the following week, which would be to simply take post-its and write down what lessons I want to do and add them to the following week, and take notes on therapies. So any reports that come back from my child's therapist, I would be taking notes if there are reports. I'm sorry that you can't see what I'm doing there, but that list is the goals planner task list. And each week I am supposed to count the available task blocks and log my screen time, which I honestly haven't been doing. Here I'm making my headings for the daily planner task lists. The daily tasks in my main planner are to fill in the habit trackers, fill in my gratitude log, do the AM and PM reflection, fill in my 1 line a day planner, and index. So this list is the PM homeschool prep, and it's not necessarily planner related. It's just a list of tasks that I need to do each day in order to be ready for the next day of school. And so that is plan the next day's work, is review needed, print and gather materials, clean the homeschooling table for the next day, record completed work in the homeschool register, and log attendance. You'll hear me mention this list often in my weekly planning, and that is AM reflection. And on this list, it's happening in the main planner. I write down anything that came up overnight. I review the planner for open tasks, and then I prioritize the tasks. One task for goals, one task for habits, and one task that's on a deadline. I'm going to put a star next to those tasks and try to prioritize them that day. This is another list that I mention a lot in my planning videos. This is PM reflection. So this is supposed to happen every night as part of my bedtime routine. The first two tasks are in parentheses because there's a very good chance I may have done these during the week. But to go into it, make tomorrow's schedule, block off appointments, add rest time. Block out 1 to 2 hours for task completion. Migrate the day's unfinished tasks. Index the main planner, and write down the latest time that school can start. Will this spread be in my 2026 planner? Yes, it will. I will be adding my monthly habit tracker setups and decoration tasks to the lists as well. I try to keep it strictly functional in 2025, but I think adding the fun planning stuff will make me more likely to return to this page and be reminded to perform the functional planning tasks. This is my Cartomancy Spread. I give myself a tarot reading every year to look ahead and see what I should be aware of each month. I'm supposed to do this at the end of every April, but I didn't get around to this year's reading until August. I update the spread with colors matching the monthly theme at the start of each month. I do write the predictions as soon as I do the yearly reading. Because the structure of the spread is still there, I can still use the information written for each month, even if I haven't stamped that month's tarot card onto the spread. While we have this space, allow me to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a writer, tarot reader, Akashic record guide, medium, and spiritual empowerment professional. If you're interested in booking a session with me, go to my website linked in the description to book. Over the past 2 years, I've discovered that decorative planning keeps me productive and motivated as I parent, homeschool, create content, and maintain my spiritual practice. At this point in time, this channel is exploring the intersection of planning, journaling, and spirituality. I'm stamping the tarot card for each month onto transparent matte label paper. Then I'll color the edge of my entry in a color that matches my theme for the month. Since I wasn't exactly sure which markers I would be using for each theme when I was setting this up, I left the decor blank and decorated as the year went on. About 2 weeks before each new month, I used a color list and a random number generator to choose each month's color. I had the Outlander series playing in the background while creating this spread, and noticed while editing that Galis Duncan talks about the devil exactly when I'm stamping the devil tarot card. I just thought that was cool and needed to jump in here and point that out.
What exactly do you mean? Is he ill? He's not ill. He's possessed. Do you not believe in demonic possession, Claire? Do you?
I just love when stuff like that happens, and interestingly enough, that month turned out to be a devil card for me, so message received. I used the Cartomancy Spread some of the time throughout the year, but once April was over and I hadn't made time for the next reading, there was no card for the month, and I honestly would forget to check this spread. Ideally, I'd be checking this spread when writing my goals for the month to come. Will it be in my 2026 planner? Yes. The card of the month is usually very insightful. I just need to be on time with the divination to get the most use out of it. I plan on having the months here in the middle, and then the items purchased with their price over here on the outer margins. So, I mean, you know, question's been answered. That's the one that makes the most sense. All right, so we're going to do this. That means that our colors are very soft, except for the green. Very soft except for the green. So I'm wondering if I should just use green to do the days of the months. Not the days of the week, the months. It's pretty simple. It's more now deciding what stickers will be accenting this. What about this white? Do we like it with white? I fucking love it with white, actually. I think, forget it, we're going with white. Yeah, I'm liking that white. Because these have little white flowers. All right, so green accent color. We have this olive green here. Is this the green? Yeah, screw it. Okay, so January, which is already over, but whatever, it's here. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, and then what I'm doing for lines is that I'm going to do some dotted, like where it's not going to be a whole line. So I think we're going to alternate. We're going to alternate lines. And we're going to take this all the way down to the bottom because we want this spread to last all year if possible. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. All right. Okay, so we have our green lines, and I wanted to alternate between dotted and stripe. Okay, so we have made our green lines, and what I plan on doing is just having a dot. Instead of it be a line, it's just going to be a dot, and it's going to go all the way down. That's going to separate the months. I don't know. I think I'm going to get confused if I do it that way. We're going to go with this Sharpie coral and see how we like that. And next, we're gonna add our washi tape down the side. So that's one end. Voiceover Ingrid here. This spread was used more frequently in the beginning when I had first set it up in January. I just keep forgetting to track purchases. These lists hold both necessities and wants. This made it harder to determine what I needed to buy because the wish list items were mixed in with the needs. This also made the list fill up very quickly, and I needed to add 2 more pages for purchases. In 2026, I will keep the wish list separate from the purchases so that it will be easier to remain mindful about the money that I'm spending. Purchases. This one goes down here at the bottom. That's a nice little framing. I like that. Purchases page ready to be populated with the things I need to buy and the things I have bought. Right here. All right. So we've made the purchases page. And the other page that came up for me that I was like, oh crap, I have to write something there, and I didn't, is this Tickler Tasks. So we're going to do the Tickler Tasks. So the Tickler Tasks has to do with getting things done, basically. It's basically a getting things done idea, which is where you have a folder or like a box that holds like your to-dos, right? Like, so say it's like I have to fill out this application, that application goes in the folder. And for me, I need to remember when I put something away, I need to remember that I put it away and that I have to go find it. And so for that reason, I made a Tickler Tasks list. And it's basically, if I put it in the in the Tickler folder or the Tickler drawer or whatever, if I put it there, I want to write down the date that I put it there and what the task is. Like what is in there that I have to do. And that way I don't forget about it once it's put away, because that's like an issue that I have. Once it's put away, I don't remember that I needed to do it until, you know, something happens and then it's panic mode because I forgot all about that. So I had some tasks that are meant to go in the Tickler folder. And so I had to write it on this to-do list in order to capture it, and then I have to transfer it to this page. So that's what we're going to do next. I feel like these would look good with these lilies that I stamped. And so that works for me. It's a nice quick setup, and the sticker has already been cut out. There we go. Oops, you saw nothing. Stay in frame, Ingrid. So this is last year's Tickler Tasks. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to go with this coral thing again. We need a date added and date completed column. And I can see that the date completed column is still here. This spread is supposed to function like an inbox. I used it more frequently in the first quarter of the year, then I slowly started keeping piles of paperwork again. I'm going to try this in 2026 with the hope that I can put things away and this list will help me remember them. Date added. Date added. Date completed. All right, and that's it. And then we're just going to drop off our lily. And there it is. I gotta be careful because if there's a bunch of corner stickers everywhere, I'm gonna have fat corners again. But this is it. This is the Tickler Tasks page. Now I can transfer my Tickler Tasks to it. I forgot to write the title of purchases. Ooh. Purchases. Yeah, we're running out of ink here in this guy. Perfect. We don't need to do too much, but there's that part of me that always wants to, and I want to put like some dots. I don't know, I like my metallic dots. Voiceover Ingrid here. The divination log is a spread for when I get an idea to check divination on something and I don't have divination tools with me. Sometimes when I'm all set up to read tarot, I don't remember everything I'd intended to ask. This list helps remind me. I will be including it again in my 2026 planner. This spread is meant to make it easier for me to do my quarterly, monthly, and weekly reflections. I use the HB90 system by Heart Breathings to work on my goals and want to keep the reflection questions in the planner so that I don't have to rewrite the questions every time. I also don't want to have to go find a separate printout when it is time to do my reflections. My rate of doing reflections was much higher in 2024. But it was frustrating to rewrite the question for each entry or to not know what the question was asking when I was going back to reread because I hadn't written the question down. This is another spread that would have gotten more use if it had been in the planner before the year started. I had needed it for my reflections, but I only added it to the planner in February of 2025. By then, I had gotten out of the habit. I like using the HB90 method planning system because it helps me to visualize how much time I have to devote to my goals and take into account how daily life can impact my plans. Sometimes when I'm goal planning, I get very inspired and I have a very optimistic view of what can get done. HB90 helps me to rein that energy in and channel it in a more focused way, so that I can complete projects instead of just starting new ones every time inspiration strikes. If you want to know what's written here and more about how to use HB90 to achieve goals, check out heartbreathings.com. I'll have it linked in the description. I ran out of space for the last 2 questions of the quarterly review, so I went to the quarterly pages at the beginning of the planner and wrote them down in the unused space I had for January. Will this spread be in my 2026 planner? Yes. This time it will be there before I start using it. I do find that I'm less distracted and more focused on completing projects when I'm reflecting on them on a regular basis, which is why this is another must-have spread for me. This is the ideal weekly spread. This spread helps me with weekly time blocking. I have the ideal times and tasks that should happen each week written on these pages. This is definitely a must-have in my 2026 planner because I refer back to it all the time. On Sundays at 3:30 Eastern, I set up my weekly pages live on YouTube. We say affirmations, and sometimes we'll do tarot or energy work. Sometimes I will update my moon mapping notebook or my dream interpretation commonplace book. Come by with your planner or notebook and hang out for a bit. Time blocking plays a major role in the setup of my weekly pages, so this ideal weekly spread is very important to help me remember what I'm supposed to be doing when. I know it's hard to believe for some people, but I have executive functioning difficulties, and somebody could say, "What are you going to do today? What are your plans for today?" And I will draw a blank. I will need to go back, look at my planner, and choose, what am I supposed to be doing? Or remember, what am I supposed to be doing? Because if you're asking me offhand, I may not know. So time blocking is very key for answering the question of, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And when I start the time blocking, I always start with anchor points that if this thing can happen at this time, then all of these other time blocks will flow more smoothly. And so that is why the number one thing I like to start with is time blocking dinner. If dinner is on time, then bedtime is on time, then waking up happens on time. So all of that ties into dinner being on time, and that's why that's the first thing I time block. The next thing I time block is the bedtime routine. If I do not go to bed on time, then I can't wake up early enough to do all of the self-care things that I know are important and that I know I need to do. If you notice on this page, some of the hourly blocks are highlighted in a solid color. And that is my indication that this should only be happening at this time. It's not like, hey, I can just choose to do this at a different time. Like the bedtime routine needs to happen at that time, and dinner needs to happen at that time. And here the orange, that is homeschool instruction time, and that also needs to happen at a specific time. Like I'm not going to start doing that at 9 p.m. And so for things that must happen at a specific time, such as appointments, such as key anchor points of the day, I will fill in the hourly blocks with a solid color. The evening routines and the evening tasks are much more flexible. I can switch those around. It doesn't have to happen on a Monday. It can happen on a Thursday or a Friday. And so for those, I will outline the hourly blocks, but I won't fill the color in unless this is something that must happen on this particular day at this particular time. Here you can see that on Thursday and Friday, I'm doing another outline of blocks. And that is because I have a choice. Either somebody books an appointment on Thursday, and that is what my evening entails, or I'm going to opt to do something else. In this case, I'm using pale orange to indicate homeschool admin tasks. So for example, if no one books a reading on Monday, then I will be doing homeschool admin tasks that evening. Here I am adding the ideal time for cleaning. We can't forget that. We can't let cleaning be the thing that happens spontaneously, or it won't happen often enough. So I definitely need to time block in order for that to happen, or we'll just skip it. So once I've blocked off the hourly blocks for the morning routine, I will write down those morning routine tasks only on Monday. They're supposed to happen every morning, but I don't need to write that 7 times. I write it on Monday once, and then I just put task dots in the corresponding color for the task to show that this needs to happen every morning. Let's look at this weekly and add the decor that we need to add to it. All right, these little post-its is like a YouTube posting schedule that I'm experimenting with about when the ideal time to do like a YouTube related task is, whether it be editing, filming, scripting, etc. So I want to make it look like a regular weekly, even though it's the ideal week. I'm going to use this very dark fuchsia or whatever this is. It's a very dark pink. And just like we do on every weekly, it's like a more general to-do list that is not related to these specific tasks, or is where the overflow of these tasks ends up getting written. We're decorating this column here. So let's see what washi tape. I do like this. Should we just go bold with this? I do like this too. No, it's not. All right, we're gonna do the same thing that we did for the gold earlier today. Just cut here, have it be straight. What did we say that thing goes? It goes at 12:30. Okay. 12:30. Still kind of jacked. Still kind of crooked, but it's a little better. So this Should it go down here? Should it go up here? Yeah, that can go there. Okay, yeah, so this is the ideal, not ideal, what am I talking about? This is the ideal monthly setup, which I didn't decorate. I'll probably be decorating after this live. All right, so here we are. This is the ideal week spread. And I will be referring to this all of the time. Instead of like previous week to do things, I'm going to come back to the ideal schedule. This is the ideal monthly spread. This spread functions just like the weekly spread, but it shows what tasks I should schedule for the month and reminds me of the layout for things I want to record on my monthly pages. I will be making this spread again in my 2026 planner because there are still times I don't remember what recurring tasks I'm supposed to schedule each month. I also don't always remember where in the calendar box I'm supposed to write down what I did for meditation and what dreams or visions I had on a specific day. Here I'm giving some decorative attention to the very first pages in the planner, and I'm just putting a dot next to each week that has already passed and decorating that first page. As I said earlier, I needed to add another purchases spread. These pages were supposed to be a reference for life admin gamification, but I never got around to setting that up. As you can see, the first page is almost full, and it was only mid-February. I decided that I preferred to have all the purchases pages together than to have to make a new spread in the book at some point in the future. Here is a final flip-through of all of the must-have spreads of 2025. I will be posting quarterly flip-throughs of this planner in the next few weeks, so please be sure to like and subscribe so that you can be notified when they are published. If you haven't seen part 1 of this series, click on the link and watch me set up the grid spacing guide, index, and collections pages. See you there. Peace.